Welcome back to the Big Trail Show. We're joined by a very special guest now, gymnast Cami Weaver from the University of Arkansas. Cami, you have a very interesting story. I think a lot of people don't know exactly what hardships you've had to go through from last season to this season, but to kind of talk about it a little bit, you know, last season, your collegiate debut, it's supposed to be the happiest time, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're ready to go, you're set. You go down with injury and tear your ACL. How hard was that for you to have that moment right off the bat in college?
It definitely was not ideal. You don't expect to do that when you go up for the first time. Like you said, it's supposed to be a super happy moment. And I think there was a lot of excitement, definitely a lot of nerves going to it, but it all happened so quick and I kind of just went into like shock with adrenaline. And I didn't really have time to think about what happened because we had a meet to finish. So I was sitting on the training table for bars and icing it, and then I was able to join my teammates for the rest of the meet on crutches, but then after that it kind of all hit me when I went home that night. So,
did you know when you were icing it that it was going to be a season-ending injury, or when did you find out that you had torn your ACL?
I was laying on the vault mat and I heard the doctor whisper ACL, and that's when I kind of knew. And my teammate Frankie had just overcome that surgery herself, and so I kind of knew like what was going to happen when I did that, and so it kind of all hit me right there when he whispered that. But other than that, I mean, I knew when I was sitting on the table, and I kind of just accepted it and moved on with the meet because I couldn't really sit and dwell on it at that moment. So,
what went through your head initially when they said ACL? You knew it was going to be a season-ending injury. What was the thought that crossed your head immediately?
It was hard. It was not something that I accepted easily. Obviously, it was very quick, and so I didn't really have time. Like, I wasn't even like, oh, I could do this instead of surgery or do this. Like, it was just like automatically over for me, and that it didn't really process with me, honestly, because it all happened so quickly, and I had surgery 5 days after. I was already doing rehab, like third meet of the year, and so it's like I didn't even have time to like be down about it. I just started my rehab, and I was a cheerleader all last year, and now I'm competing, so it's definitely better. But
yeah, you've definitely come out on the other side of it now. But thinking about last season and you embracing that role of being on the sidelines, how much did that help going through seeing your teammates and being a cheerleader for them and them supporting you through all of that as well?
It definitely helped a lot. Still getting to travel with them last year, I think that was honestly a blast. As soon as I got off crutches, I was up and going in the gym, like not doing skills, but like fully going in my rehab and still learning everything going in season. Like, I learned so much being on the sideline. You don't really understand until you're on the sideline. Like, obviously you want to be out there, but being on the sideline with your teammates, you learn a lot about yourself and you learn a lot about your team. You observe more. And I think competing and like being with them, you learn a lot. But watching and observing and being able to help them from the outside, it teaches you a lot about yourself and a lot about your team.
How much did your teammates and this coaching staff support you through that tough time?
They supported me as soon as I got off that vault mat that night. I remember Chris, our assistant coach, came up to me. He said, things like this happen to strong people, and it's going to make your journey that much more special. And I remember that. I'll remember that for the rest of my life. Those were like very sweet words from him, and I held on to that. And obviously it was hard and none of it was easy, but knowing that every single person in that gym was supporting me through every single step of the way, it was like I didn't have any doubt that I was going to make it through.
Well, you've gone through that now. You've come out the other side of it. How nerve-wracking was it for you to get back on the vault? Because I can't imagine that it was completely, nerve-free. I would be a little nervous to get back in that event again, right?
Yes. It definitely, a lot of people ask me if I'm scared to vault again, and I don't want to seem like I'm like this fearless girl, but I really wasn't. Like, I mean, I'm not competing the same vault right now. It's a different vault just because I need more training with the other vault, but it was a fluke. It wasn't what I normally do. And so getting back training has gotten my confidence back up. And like, obviously they're not going to put me out there if they don't trust me. And I trusted myself when I competed that first meet, and it paid off. So
how good did it feel when you hit the landing and you were like, yes, this is it. This is the moment and that I had been waiting for, kind of?
It was bittersweet. It was honestly having my team behind me and having those hugs from everybody, that just makes it all worth it.
Well, we've talked about you coming back. It almost feels like you've come back better than ever because you've just been lighting it up when it comes to the meet so far in the start of the season. What do you credit to that? I mean, how were you able to bounce back in the way that you did?
My attitude, honestly. If I would have sat and dwelled on it all last year when the rehab was the hardest it was, I wouldn't be here right now. It was all mental for me. It was like a matter of, am I going to approach this in a strong and good way, or am I going to sit and be sad that I'm out for the rest of the season? And I was blessed to have a very awesome trainer who knew exactly what to do with me, and I attacked my rehab. I didn't waste any time. I was very on top of things. I stayed over the summer just so I could do rehab and like stay on track. And most athletes go home over the summer, and I thought if I were to go home and lose all this time, like I wouldn't be competing right now. And my rehab lined up perfectly with season, and I was able to complete the first meet. So
yeah, it's got to feel pretty good right now, right?
Yeah.
Your goals, specific goals for the year, anything that you have specifically in mind that you would like to accomplish?
I definitely want to compete the 1.5 before the end of the year, because that is the vault I went down on, and I want to show everybody that I'm capable of doing it. I don't want them to have the last image of me on the ground at the meet. Like, obviously that wasn't what I've been doing the whole preseason before that, and so I really want to show everybody what I've got.
I think everybody's excited to see what you got in that as well. Thank you so much for joining us on the show, Cami. We'll have much more pig trail coming up after the break.